3 times now, and that's it. I'm done. So I don't know if there's something coming in and sneaking them, or I don't know. Really? And my carrots didn't come up. My beets finally came up, and I'm kind of glad because that's what I like my canned beets. But I feel so pathetic because it's like when my ancestors came here on the prairie and there was nothing. You know, they sustained themselves. If I had to sustain my family, I feel like a failure because we would starve. I mean, how did they do it? How did they, you know?
Sometimes they starve too.
I mean, I'm sure they did, but I mean, I think of having to carry water or something like that, you know, and not having the faucet and the hose right there and, you know, sprinklers, and it just, yeah. That's why I get so, my husband says, you need to stop gardening, I think, because I feel like when something doesn't come out, I feel like such a failure, you know, so I take it hard. I really do. I take it hard when I can't get something successful. And, yeah, I need to chill out a little bit, but. Oh, I guess my microphone's on.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. We can do roll call when you're ready, Bill.
Please turn your microphones on. I see a couple of you don't have them. Thank you. Barkle.
Here.
Loest.
Here.
Kettering.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Weiss.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
All right, everybody had a chance to go over the minutes from the previous meeting. Unless there's any changes, I need a motion to approve the previous minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carried. Are there any items to be added to the agenda? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we can do conflict of interest declarations. We'll start with Kathy.
None. Lauren Nelson, none.
Don Kettering, none.
Chris Barkle, none.
Loest, none.
Clark, none. Michael, none.
All right. As usual, we have a few minutes to kill before the first agenda item scheduled at 7:05. And I guess just a little bit, we're going to change. Normally, when we get to the agenda item, is asking the applicant to come up and give an explanation. I think we'll start with, have Bill go over and give us a summary, and then we'll have the applicant come up after that and take care of the questions and public comment.
Chris, we could talk about building height real quick if you want.
What's that?
Building height?
Sure.
What was the question?
Building height. Previous meeting, we were talking about building height in some of the zoning districts. Things keep getting changed, I guess. We changed the building height before to increase it, and then we still get applicants to want in excess of that. So we're trying to come up with a solution to not always have applications for something other than what the zoning ordinance says.
Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit when we were talking about the Ag District a while back before a couple of you were here, but at that time, we didn't set a building height. It's 35 feet's pretty much the standard across the state at a lot of the counties. But as you all know, we have a definition that talks about the grade and the average grade and going from there. And we do have 16 and 14 foot sidewalls in most of the districts. And so I guess you could go about this a couple different ways. I mean, I haven't really had anybody yell about the building heights here since I've been here, but you know, I was told the sidewalk, you could do one of two things. We could change the R2 to 16 foot too, and I don't know if there's anybody, I suppose there would be maybe somewhere down the line, but I don't think we've ever been asked for anything higher than that. So that would take away the need for a CUP on R2 if we went that direction. We could put in a building height, just put that in the definition, and you probably for all districts except Ag, and probably and mobile home, it would be another one that wouldn't be in, but otherwise, basically from there we could just talk about, I know I was told in the past that the sidewall issue thing was basically, there was some discussion, and maybe Dennis remembers this some too, but about some of the steel framework was a certain specific height, and so that was maybe why they went with sidewalls versus building height, but I don't know.
I think part of the reason, Gary, though, was, and I think a lot of the definitions came from the lake area, from the fact that people not wanting to have a building built next to them that blocks their view.
Sure.
And start going up, you know, in highly residential area where your houses are closer together, they can't get back on their lot far enough for height to get to where they can see over that, and
Right.
that's where you get into the conflict thing. And you know, that happened out there before zoning, or right at the beginning of zoning, when a guy built a building out there and it was way too big. Of course, it didn't meet the covenants of that area, and that's what stopped it. But and I realize we don't deal with covenants here, but we were trying to avoid, I think when it was designed, it was trying to avoid the problem of everybody in this lower, smaller residential lots and smaller acreage areas of building something that would block
Sure.
their neighbor's view.
But as you know, and we all know, that elevations change a lot in those areas,
Yeah.
and so there's really no sure way to make sure that that isn't going to occur no matter what we change it to. So that was kind of my thought process. I don't know if you still think we need to change something there, but that's up to you all. If you want to make a recommendation, I can put it on the red line for next month.
I think, part of the discussion too, I think coming into this was the fact that you can only go down the road with a certain size camper. I mean, it can't be over this, but where it came into the problem was the people that are trying to store the boat with a mast or something that's a higher elevation than what a camper would be.
Right.
But you can't drag it down the highway. I mean, it's gotta, be someplace. And that's when they start going to the 18-foot
Sure.
sidewalls and things like that. Well, then you're starting to get into issues of height, then, especially in those areas, even with the elevation change in a lot of those places, you're gonna be looking out your bedroom window at
Yeah,
somebody's roof.
I mean, you could say 20 feet and it still might be too high. So it's a tough call in that regard, but that was the issue in last month's case, was the boat size.
I think that, we have to look at it from the fact that you still have to kind of be at it from the location of where it's being built. I don't know if there's a way, I know, like with last month's deal there on that sidewall on that building, they were building in a spot where there was nothing gonna be built behind them,
Right.
so it wasn't gonna.
For now, it's fine.
For that, but you get down on the flat down there, like Chris's place, and you build an 18-foot sidewall next to somebody, that might not, they might need to be there.
Yeah.
And be able to put some kind of restriction on it of some sort, but I don't know. That's up to the group to decide.
Well, I guess the only way you're gonna get around that is leave it how it is, so that's a conditional use. That way you have a chance to review it in those situations, but
That was kind of my thought
That was-
process
yeah.
too.
What
All right,
I was thinking is.
thank you.
all right, we'll start with the Bornitz rezone. Applicant is requesting to rezone 6 lots in a rural transitional district to moderate density rural residential district R2 per Article 18, Section 1809, and Article 20, Section 2003. Said properties are legally described as lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Valley West Addition in the northwest quarter, the southwest quarter. Section 4, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota.
All right, so these 6 lots on 314, they're on the south side, were platted in 1992 to be single-family lots. 5 of the 6 are 0.9 acres. The other one is over 1 acre. After zoning came into place, they were zoned rural transitional, which basically means if anybody wants to build a house, got to go through the conditional use process. And then our goal to try to get these rezoned, or get other things rezoned to what's more conforming. Everything across the road is moderate density, and everything kind of along there is moderate density. Connie Bonert's was buying these 2, and the Schwach family still owns these 4. She plans on developing this one if the rezone passes this fall, and then this one in a year or 2. That would open it up for the other 4 too. She's bringing in BY water. The DOT was consulted about ingress egress. When these were platted, their requirement was there was an entrance for each 2 lots. So there's just a field entrance here, and then there'd be an entrance here and an entrance here, so they would share a driveway. And that was the DOT requirement from Greg Rochado. So the egress ingress is already established. They would have to still file for the permit and build that ingress egress, that driveway to specs, but the plan is already there. So this seems to make that area more conforming with what's around it.
You said the pink area up there is already moderate density?
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit along 314 and then down here. There's a little bit of low density here, but moderate density here and here. And we realize there's a little short of the 1 acre, but it still is more conforming to this. So we recommended moderate density residential.
Did you say they're all gonna be connected by one driveway, or no?
Each 2 lots will share a driveway, so
Okay.
these 2 lots will have a driveway right in the middle. These 2 lots will have a driveway right in the middle that they share. And these 2 lots, there's already a field approach, but they'll have a driveway in the middle that they share. And again, that's what the DOT required when they originally platted these.
You know the extent that BY Water's gonna bring water into that area?
She's already talked to them and she said that they're gonna do it. She just is waiting for the rezone to fill the paperwork and pay the fee. But she's gonna bring it into the first 2, and then I'm assuming that everybody else down the line will be able to jump on.
All right, anybody got any questions for Bill? All right, thanks, Bill. Does the applicant wish to speak?
Yeah, and Dad.
No, I don't. I'm just here to represent her, I guess, and I think you guys covered everything pretty well.
Okay. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this specific application? Come on up to the microphone and state your name for the record.
Is there gonna be just one house on them 2 lots?
Please come up to
Come
the
up to the
microphone.
microphone. You have to state your name for the record, please. Right up here.
Over here. Please state your name.
Doris Cookta, and I presently live right on Highway 314. We're at 4810. And if she's buying 2 lots, is her house going to be on those 2 lots? Or is she going to have a house on 1 lot, and 1 lot she's going to put up for sale sometimes later?
I guess if you want to address that, Cam.
She plans on moving a house into the first lot, the bigger lot. That's out by the lake
Would you,
right now.
would you come up to the microphone, please?
Hi, Chris Bornitz. Her plan is to relocate a yellow house that she has out by the lake up to the bigger of the 2 lots. And then she would, in the future, possibly build another house on the second lot. So there'd be 2 homes there.
Okay. What's my question?
Okay?
All right. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Come on up.
Brad Bonnet. I was curious, is the intention for rental property, or is the intention to have actual ownership and living there?
Chris Bornitz again. As I know, the intention is to move this house to this new lot and then sell it and then build another house on the second lot for sale.
Okay, because the LLC that owns that has several other properties that are all rental, they're all
Yes.
low-income
Yep.
rental properties.
Yep.
So that was our concern, is that we would be changing it from a residential area where we expect to see homes across the way to a low-income residential mixed, I guess, would it be, I don't know, can it only be a single home built on it, or can it be an apartment complex?
So this isn't about issuing a building permit. This is just
Yep.
doing a rezone. So whatever is allowed in that zoning district is something they could apply for a building permit for in the future.
So in that zoning, would it be allowed to have an apartment or multi-family unit on that lot?
Multifamily would be a conditional use permit, so they would have to come in through the same kind of process, get a conditional use permit if they wanted to do multifamily.
And I guess my last question, what would the purpose of rezoning it be? I don't understand what the current is versus what they're trying to request to change to.
So currently it's in the blue, and that's rural transitional district. And to put a single family house or basically any house on there, you have to have a minimum lot size of 20 acres. So those are not conforming already because they're smaller than 20 acres. Changing it to basically that pink zone, that's going to make it so you have a 1 acre minimum. So that allows more opportunities for housing or
And then
other
that
things.
zoning requirement has a front yard requirement, side yard requirements?
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have for questions.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment on this topic. Any more board discussion?
Do we need to go through and address all of the rezone points that are listed here?
That would be good for the county commission.
So number 5 says the planning commission shall make findings that the requirements of this section have been met by the applicant for an amendment. So A is the reasons set forth in the application justify a recommendation to approve the amendment or change in zone. B, the amendment or change in zone will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. C, the recommendation to grant the amendment or change in zone will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this ordinance. And D, a recommendation of approval will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare as presented and testified to by the applicant. So, does this meet all of those?
I think that it makes those specific lots more conforming, since they're non-conforming lots currently. They're gonna be in better conformance with the zoning ordinance. It's gonna allow them to use those lots for the intended purpose. It's adding to the neighborhood. I guess you've already got quite a bit of housing along that corridor already, so this wouldn't change the character of the area.
In the intent of rural transitional, the definition of it is to protect undeveloped and underdeveloped lands lying within or adjacent to expected growth corridors from unstructured or incompatible land uses in order to preserve land best suited for planned development to ensure practicality and service delivery. And so right now, as rural transitional, that's one reason you have to have a CUP to build a home, is because is that land suited for homes or industrial? It forces us to have that discussion and where best should all of the blue property in the county go toward. And since there's houses across the street, it's probably not a good place to put a commercial development. And 1 acre homes match the houses across the street, so they'll have similar setbacks off of property lines, et cetera. As was stated before, any multifamily housing unit still require a CUP. So the only thing that can be built there, if you look at moderate density, would be dwellings, government services, horticulture, modular homes, utility facilities, which technically are, you can do all of those, or you can do utility facilities currently, and daycares. So I could build a home there and have an in-house daycare if I wanted to. So it still leaves some control over the concern with an apartment building, et cetera. There would be a CUP required future for that. So I agree. I think that everything has been met here, and it is a good change.
How big did you say those lots were?
The 5 furthest west are 0.9 acres. The one at the very east is 1.28, I believe. And even though the 5 are under, they're closer to moderate density and match the area better. So that's why we recommended moderate density.
And they were platted before
In
zoning.
92, yep, long
So-
before zoning.
Remember, it's actually could be 40,000 square
correct?
Oh, correct.
Correct, yep.
All right, is there anything else anybody'd like to add? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
I would move to approve the rezone based on findings of fact discussed.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. We can do a roll call vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. All right, we are on to the next item, Kozak, conditional use permit. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit in a Lakeside Commercial District for an illuminated sign less than 1,500 feet from a dwelling unit. Per Article 14, Section 1403, applicant wishes to install an illuminated sign on a commercial building that is less than 1,500 feet from a single-family dwelling. Said property is legally described as Lot 25, Lewis and Clark Business Center, as platted in Book S20, page 277, Yankton County, South Dakota, less highways and roads. 911 address is 3804 West 8th Street in Yankton, South Dakota.
All right, so there's a new grocery store there, Fire and Ice, and they want to put a sign on top. They're Lakeside Commercial, but according to the sign ordinance, Section 14, Article 14, Section 1403, if it's a lighted sign, it can't be within 1,500 feet of a residence or dwelling without a CUP. And across the highway, there are a couple residents that are closer than 1,500 feet. So she's just applying for the conditional use permit. Kristen and I have discussed the Article 52 corridor regulations and the sign regulations. She's aware of the regulations about transmitting light out onto the road or to other places, and the lumens or the brightness. So she's aware of those. And I think there's a picture in the packet of,
Yeah.
it meets the standards of how big it can be for how long the building is, so.
How close are they?
Across the highway, I think it's like, there's a couple dwellings right here, so it's, you know, the building is like 500 feet. I think if you go back this way, it's actually 1,000 feet or so. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's Lakeside Commercial, except for there's a couple residences down below that are kind of in the way. And
Can you put up the zoning district overlay?
so they're right here, Lakeside Commercial. Right here. And this is and it's in rural transitional, but it's still a residence or dwelling.
Basically, it would only affect the houses
Well-
south across the highway, because I know that the regulation is 1,500 feet, but their projection area would be toward the highway,
Yeah.
correct? So then.
Well, there's also the concern, because up back here, it's up, so we talked about it, you know, it can't shine up back towards those properties too. The main concern was 52, because it talks about interfering with cars driving. So,
Isn't there already a couple illuminated signs like a couple 100 feet away from it?
yeah, pre-ordinance, there's a lot of them. But she's following the rules, she wants to do it right.
Okay.
And she's here if you have any questions for her.
Okay. All right, anybody have any questions for Bill? All right, thanks, Bill. All right, does the applicant wish to speak on this? Anybody got any questions for her? All right, I'll open up to public comment.
Yeah, I
Oh,
do.
sorry.
Are you open, you're not open 24 hours a day?
No.
Will this be off at night? Or will it,
Yep, it'll be off at night. We're only open till 10 on the weekdays and 11 on the weekends.
so at 10 or 11, you'll shut your sign off
Yep.
to
yep,
indicate your business is closed?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, that's the only question I had.
Okay.
Anybody from the public wish to comment? Hearing none, I will close public comment. Any more board discussion?
So as far as the findings that are listed here on our list, ingress, egress, off right-of-way parking, refuse service areas, utilities, screening and buffering, those are pretty much taken care of with the previous CUP.
Yep, those are already in the.
And then there's required yards, general compatibility, so really it's just the signs, and being forced to follow the ordinance, which is why they're here.
So I would suggest that you do at least add the brightness of 0.3 foot candles in from the overlay for a condition.
0.3
Foot candles,
foot candles.
yeah, just for the record.
Now, is that part of the sign ordinance or is that part of the Highway 52?
Overlay, Highway 52.
All right, I guess. Anything else to add? Anybody? All right, I would entertain a motion for approval with the 0.3 foot candles of illumination.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for the sign on the fire and ice lot. We've discussed the requirements, the Highway 52 overlay, the foot candle thing, the distance from that. I thought in the packet there, I saw one letter from one of the residences there that, was that the one that said that they were okay with it or whatever? I can't remember the gentleman's name, but
I don't think we had any, did we?
Yeah, there's one letter in there. It just says that they're aware of
they're
the,
aware of it, yeah, that's what it said.
that's it.
I didn't know, but, so if they're not.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But anyway, I would make that motion to approve based on the information that we have, so.
I will second. Loest.
All right, we can vote when you're ready, Bill.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes,
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Next agenda item, the Mace conditional use permit. Applicant is applying for a conditional use permit for a two-family dwelling in a moderate density residential district per Article 7, Section 707. Applicant wishes to construct a twin home on a moderate density residential lot. Said property is legally described as Lot 29, Crestview Home Subdivision, Yankton County, South Dakota, as per plats recorded in Book S20, page 413.
So we have a builder that is applied for a twin home on this lot. The designs are in your packet. It's moderate density residential and it's listed as a conditional use permit in our ordinance for moderate density residential. There are two twin homes here. His layout meets the setbacks requirements from the county. And it's pretty cut and dry from there.
Is this the same builder?
No,
No?
no.
So that again would basically, once they get it built, it's gonna split that lot in half.
Yeah, just like these two. Have to wait till it's built to get it lined up right, but
The common wall splits the lot line.
correct. Oops, it's this one right here.
Now, is that all the same zoning district down there?
Yeah, it's all moderate density residential, except further south, different development. Right here is high density, across is high density. the low density here, but this entire development and they're moving this way now is all moderate density residential. We have a plat for lots here today.
So currently, it's a 1 acre lot,
Yes.
and we're going to put a twin home, and then we're going to come in and ask for a variance?
No, with our changes to the ordinance that we made earlier with common wall, party wall, they don't have to get a variance as long as the main structure meets the setbacks.
It looks like there's plenty of room for that then.
And the designs, it's a very nice,
What's the question?
It's just the setbacks, looks like there's lots of room.
And basically, the reason that this is here is because in the moderate density, we need a conditional use permit for a multifamily or a two-family dwelling.
correct.
All right, any more questions for Bill?
So basically, it's, the way we were set up now, Bill, is that a twin home can basically build on 1 acre lot. If they were going to build another structure, they'd have to add another 5,000 square feet, is that correct? That's the way it reads here. So, but a twin home will fit on the 40,000 square feet.
Correct.
Where are you reading that, Dennis?
It's on page 67, minimum lot requirements in section 713. Number 2.
All right, thanks, Bill. Does the applicant wish to speak?
I didn't see Mike come in.
All right, anybody from the public wish to speak? Come on up.
I'm Kevin Guthmiller. I'm a homeowner in that White Crane Estates, which is what that's all called there. And I am a representative for them, the HOA in White Crane Estates, and we oppose it being converted to a twin home lot.
Any reasons?
We just want it to stay single-family dwellings. The lots that are facing Violet, that are currently twin homes, we know that they're there and they were in place really before the HOA was developed or set up, and right now it's our wish to continue with all one-family dwellings. As you look at the other two twin home lots where they've split the lot's facing the other way. On this one, the lot is thinner, so they're gonna try to squeeze two homes facing the road in there, would be my question. And as a representative of the association, we've never received any plans as to what's going in there, what it's gonna look like, or what their plans or intent are for that.
They're in the packet. I can show you the home plans.
And as an association, we require the home plans to be sent to us and we approve them. That's part of the covenants of the association.
So this will be the front facing west, the south, this will be facing east, this will be the side, 2 sides. And there's the floor plan. But I think what you're referring to is a building permit, not a conditional use permit issue with the plans.
Can you scroll back up to where it sits on the lot? Because it meets the side yard requirements, correct?
Yep, right there. He's verified, yeah, there we go. Yeah, he's very, very aware of what our setbacks are. He's met with his engineer, designer to make sure everything. And of
Goes
course,
on there.
when he files for a building permit, if he does, we verify it.
Correct.
Do we know what his intent is?
I believe his intent is to sell them, but it'd be just like somebody building a single-family home there. They could build a single-family home and rent it out. It doesn't matter if it's a twin home, it's still a residential use.
And I guess as far as the HOA goes, we can't enforce any of that as far as covenants or
We
anything.
understand that.
We pretty much have to follow what the zoning ordinance says and make sure it meets our requirements as far as the zoning ordinance. Any covenants, anything privately like that, we don't have any power over that.
Understood. It's just the people that are living out there right now, and we addressed it at our meeting and it was pretty unanimous, completely unanimous that we didn't want any more twin homes.
All right. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Come on up.
My name is Michael Campbell. I also live out in the White Crane Estates. Built a new home out there a year and a half ago, single dwelling home. And we have 2 twin homes out there that were erected before the homeowners association came into being. And I guess I see two issues. One, we have a homeowners association governance that basically governs just that area. And then we have planning and zoning that what you folks get to do. And they're both in conflict a little bit. I feel like they're in conflict because as a homeowner association member, I feel like, yeah, we can govern ourselves, but when it comes to somebody else wanting to come in and our wishes are to remain single dwelling residential homes and we oppose twin homes, you can kind of do what you want as planning and zoning, and the homeowner's governance can be thrown out the window. Our wish is not to have twin homes, even though we have 2 out there before the homeowners association was established. And so now it's time to change and get back into compliance and give the homeowners what they want. We want single dwelling homes.
So does your, and I know we can't enforce it, I'm just curious, does your HOA specifically say only single family?
No, I believe what it states is the way it was platted, and everything was platted as single-family dwellings except for where the 2 twin homes are now, which is requiring this person to ask for the cup to be able to put another twin home on a different lot that wasn't originally planned for that.
So are you going to amend your HOA to prevent it from your standpoint?
We would pursue that.
I would suggest you do if you feel this strongly about it.
Yes.
Because our rules do not allow us to take yours into consideration.
Understood.
That's what I mean, there's conflicts.
So there's lots of empty lots out there still to be developed.
There is.
So I'll
Then,
leave it at that.
And then on
Most
top,
of the, if you go back, most of the lots all of the lots along Violet Drive have been developed. Almost all of them are developed on Tulip. Lilac has 3 or 4 lots left to develop, and Hollyhock has probably 3 or 4 lots left to develop. The rest of it is all single-family dwelling homes.
And we would like to keep a universal appearance as much as possible. You know, that's why I moved out there.
But technically, I could build that home and call it a single-family home. And my family owns like 8 or 9 cars. So, I mean, really, I could move in with all my kids and all their friends, and it would be very similar to what will be built there.
We understand that. I guess as an
You know.
homeowners association, all we're doing is we're trying to protect the values of our dwellings and what the HOA looks
Yep.
like out there.
Understood.
Which that has nothing to do with what you guys are doing here. I understand that as
Understood.
well. But that's what we're looking to prevent, is for somebody to come in and throw a bunch of stuff up, and then we gotta go to the civil courts to fight it.
Yep, sadly, yep.
yeah,
Thank
I guess that's kind of what it comes down to is, the ordinance and your HOA aren't necessarily in conflict. We have a set of rules, and if you want to make more stringent rules, it's up to you to enforce them civilly, unfortunately, so.
All we're asking is that you would not give him the cup to build a twin home. That's all we're asking at this point.
I don't know if Don or Dennis were on when the other 2 twin homes were on, were the 2 that were approved there. I had a long discussion with Denny Breck, who's been part of this whole development. There was a lawsuit regarding these 2. The original developer wanted to build more along here. The county rejected these 2. He sued. County gave in and approved it because, you know, according to the CUP, if it meets the requirements of the ordinance, it should be approved. So I just wanted to throw that out there as there's some history there.
I don't think that's the only CUP that the county's been sued over and lost, so. All right, anybody else from the public wishes to comment? Come on up.
I live next door to Kevin. You said that we should amend. What's your name, sir? Paul Stellas.
Could you speak into the
You
mic,
said-
please?
Pardon? Okay. You said that we should amend our HOA, but that still wouldn't bind you guys to conforming to that. So all we're doing by amending our HOA is just strongly suggesting that nobody does it, right?
Well, by amending your HOA, you'd give yourself legal recourse. But
We would. Okay. Second question, what's our time frame on that? Do we have time to call an HOA meeting, amend it,
Yes.
get it done?
Not for this one, you won't.
That was my question.
and technically, this is for a CUP, not a building permit.
Correct. So if your HOA requires them to get approval of their building permit, I'm not sure exactly how it's written, but if it's required that you have to sign off on it,
Then we would have leverage.
you could. I'm not a lawyer and I've not read your HOA, but that would be up to you.
All right, any more public comment? I thought I saw one more, couple more.
I would just add that we do have people here opposed to another twin home. Okay, take that into consideration. Don't ignore it. You know, take it, work with it, and just say, this is our wish. Even though it's not in our HOA, do we have time to call a meeting? No, we don't. You know, and then if we put it in there, we get into a legal battle with lawyers and all that stuff. Nobody wants that. We're just asking that we protect our property values and our property by not having more twin homes. Thank you.
All right, come on up.
My name is Steve Kraus. I live out there on Lilac Lane, 305, right across the gravel road street from where this proposed change is going to be. And I want single-family homes out there too. I don't want any twin homes out there. I think there's, there's going to be twice the traffic, twice the toys out in the yard. And I also just kind of think the principle of thing kind of bothers me too, where an outsider can come in and just request to change the zoning regulations that are out there for his or her own purposes. I'm assuming that you build a twin home out there, you're probably going to make more money off of that than you would a single-family home. And I just don't see where somebody should be able to come in and make more money off their particular little lot and home at our expense, because I think it's going to decrease the value of the existing single-family units that are out there. So, thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to comment? Going once, twice. Okay, public comment is closed. Further board discussion.
So one thing I did want to kind of correct on the statement that was just made. These folks are not asking us to change the regulations. The regulations are in our ordinance. They are asking for a CUP. They can ask for a bed and breakfast, a campground, church, daycare, multi or two-family, manufactured homes, parks, schools, signs, towers, and they can have an accessory structure with a 14-foot sidewall and 2,400 square feet. Those things are all allowed because this is the zoning that is present. So they're not asking to change, they're asking to exercise the right of a conditional use. I just want to make that clear. They're not asking us to bend the rules.
And this zoning district, I believe, was in place before there was development started there.
Long time ago.
So I guess these have been the rules of that particular area for a long time. And I guess from what we've learned as a planning commission, county commission in the past is unless you have a reason laid out in the ordinance to deny something like this, if it meets all the requirements, we pretty much have to approve it. So that's what this meeting is about, is to give notice, say that yes, it checks off the list, and then make the decision based on that.
So our checklist is ingress and egress, off right-of-way parking, refuse and service areas, utilities, screening and buffering with reference to type, dimension, and character, signs, required yards and other open spaces, and then general compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district, and that the granting will not adversely affect the public interest.
May I ask a question?
Sure, one quick one.
Was one of those compatibility with the adjacent properties? If I heard that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that's not very compatible with my home, that's a single dwelling home, and the other people around it are single dwelling homes other than the two that were established prior to homeowners association. And the representation from the homeowners association is saying, we don't want this. So it's not compatible. Single dwelling home I would say there's a conflict there with compatibility of what, if you counted every house down there, how many we have, Kevin?
I think right now around 70.
Say we have 70 homes. Only 2 of those are twin. So 68 are single dwelling homes. Compatibility means basically the same.
All right, thanks for your input. So I guess going through the checklist that Sherry read off, this project, this CUP, would meet pretty much everything on there. Would be exactly the same as all the other properties in the area. I guess the only question raised is whether it's compatible. And from our standpoint of the zoning ordinance, compatibility, I guess I would interpret to mean what is permitted and what is allowed in the zoning district, and then what is currently in that zoning district. Which, if you use that as the standard, it is compatible with the area.
Just as a quick question. Why do they even have?
If you want to speak, please go to the mic.
My question is, as long as they meet all the requirements, why do we have to go through the process of the cut then?
So they have to meet the requirements to get a CUP. If the CUP process was not here, we wouldn't have any rules as far as any of this stuff, as far as giving you guys any kind of notice of what was going on in the area. It would just be an issued building permit, and one day it would just be there.
But it seems like that's what's happening.
In this situation, they're meeting off the county guidelines, off of our checklist, and you are receiving notice of what's going on in the area before a building permit is even issued. So I guess that does give you the opportunity to do whatever you need to do on your side, rather than one day they're turning dirt.
It also gives the commission a chance to review the application, and in situations that require it or it fits, put conditions on to help make it fit in better. This might not require any conditions, but some things do. So it gives you that opportunity to review it.
All right, is there any more board discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
And not to make a motion yet, Chris, but the underlying thing here that has been plagued the planning commission since we started is HOAs, covenants, things like that. And, you know, we've pretty much had to toe the line on what we're doing on that, because that does become a civil issue between the HOA and the person there, not between the county and the person there. It's come up hundreds of times with that, and, you know, as much as I feel for the HOA's position and what they want, we still have to look at the black and white in our ordinance. And if there wasn't a HOA there, it wouldn't be I mean, he would still have to come in for a conditional use to do it, because he's trying to build, you know, on basically a non-conforming lot for that area, other than allowing the twin home definition that we have in there to do that. But beyond that, our hands are really tight as to what the ordinance said, and through litigation, we found that out, so.
Should make a motion?
Not yet, go ahead.
No, you. I thought you made one.
No, I said not, I was not making a motion.
Oh,
I was making a fact, but I guess at that point, I would make a motion to approve this CUP based on the checklist that we have that allows it, and as long as it meets the requirements of the positioning of the setbacks from the, according to our twin home definition, I move that we approve that.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote when you're ready, Bill.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Okay, on to the plats. We can start with the Oliver plat.
Oliver plat of Lot 11 of Block 6. Law overlooks subdivision in the southeast quarter of Section 7 and the northeast quarter of Section 18, all in Township 93, Range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. This is just more development north of Cottonwood. Developing out some of these. Lot 11, Block 6. It's located back up in here.
They're all 1 acre plus.
What's that?
They're all
Yeah, they all
acre or more?
conform. Well, this is just one plat, they're doing one plat at a time.
Oh.
This one conforms with 1.37 acres.
Okay, so it's just plat.
Yep, just
Lot
one at a time.
Lot 16.
Make a motion to approve.
Second, Loest.
All right, roll call vote.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss, Clark.
Yes.
All right, next plat is also for Oliver.
I'm having trouble seeing tonight.
16, lot 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is where his tiny homes are. It's currently platted off here, and this is part of this large area. He's just replatting this into one lot.
So there'd be more tiny homes there.
That's his plan, yes. It's replat of Lot 16, Block 3, Law Overlook Subdivision in the northeast quarter of Section 18, Township 93 North, Range 56 West of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. Hereafter to be known as Lot 16A, Block 3, Law Overlook Subdivision in the northeast quarter of Section 18, Township 93 North, Range 56 West of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. When he started this, he bought this, and Law and Corp owned all this. He's now purchased it, so he's making it more in line with what he's doing. Meets all requirements.
I would move approval of the plat. Loest.
Second.
Vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss, Clark.
Yes.
Okay, Colberg plat.
The plat of tracks 1 and 2, Colberg's addition in the east half of the southwest quarter and in the southeast quarter of Section 5, Township 93 North, Range 54 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. This is currently one piece. They're dividing it up and they're selling it. Both of them meet, it's zoned ag, both of them meet the minimum requirements.
Does one of them have a building site on it?
This one, I believe, has a house on it right here,
Okay, yeah.
farmstead.
Is that the river?
No, that's railroad track.
That's railroad track, okay.
Yes.
So the dwelling and building site would be in that 33-acre piece?
Correct.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we can vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes?
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Okay, on to White Crane Estates.
Plat of lots 17, 18, 19, 77, 78, and 79, Crestview Home subdivision in the northeast quarter of Section 21, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. Need you to show this on Beacon. So, go back to that same area where we just had the conditional use permit. They are, these lots, 17, 18, 19, are in this area. They're cutting a little bit off of this. This still conforms, but they're replatting this area.
So is there a road built? Is Orchid Drive built?
I think they've started it.
They just started.
Okay.
But eventually that subdivision can go all the way up to Alphonse, so it's
Yeah.
not a preliminary plan.
Up here.
Okay.
Oops, went the wrong way. Right there.
Basically the same size and shape of lots, the rest
Yep.
of the area.
Motion to approve.
Second, Loest.
Vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Okay, the LL Schwach LLC plat.
Plat of Tract 1, L&L Schwach Edition in the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 30, Township 94 North, Range 56 west of the 5th PM, Yankton County, South Dakota. So they own all of this. This is a current farmstead. They surveyed off 20 acres, so it's conforming. So that's the new property. It did include all the buildings too. I can find it on Beacon for you. Section 20. No, is it 20? Sorry. 30.
It's Laverne's place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right off
There.
435.
So basically, they have surveyed off all of this.
Yeah. motion to approve.
Second, Clark.
I think Dan got that.
Yeah. I beat you. That was
All right.
straightforward.
Vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Okay. DLKM LLC. Is that the in the packet? It was labeled as Cronisel. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the owner or the applicant. It's technically owned under that LLC,
Okay.
but I put him as the applicant. So basically what he's doing is, this is where Cedar Hills Road turns left. He's surveying off 5 acres right along here. Oops. Cuts it off right by this little ravine.
And that's R1, right?
Yes, 5 acre minimum.
Okay.
Zoom back out on this. A little bit more. I want to see the whole area.
There's a PUD over here. And then low density all around here, except for this moderate density. And we're talking right there.
So is there any concern with future right-of-way or anything in there, road corridors and development? I mean, at this point, because it's like right,
It's a private road.
yeah,
And nobody
Yeah.
seems to wanna,
There's all kinds of odd shaped lots there.
yeah,
Yep.
okay,
I think they're thinking bigger acreages pretty much, so.
okay. Alrighty.
I guess in that case, the 5 acres keeps the density down quite a bit, so.
Till they find gold.
Or gravel.
Or gravel.
Gravel.
Same thing.
Move approval, Loest.
Second.
All right, vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right, on to Yankton Thrive.
This is actually in the ETJ, or they annexed this, no, it's ETJ. Sorry. So. We have, let's see here. What's West 30th? Gotta find the right spot.
Right there where it says Utica South.
So,
Yeah. Is that Westbrook right there with all the
yep,
little
right
lots?
here, yep.
Right there, yeah.
So they're just expanding that development.
26 acres.
So has that been annexed into the city already? No, it will be though.
Hopefully. Well, not hopefully, but I assume that's what they're gonna do. City limits jog, kind of, let's see here. Right now, city limits goes right down here,
Yeah.
That's just on the outside of that.
just on the inside of the ETJ, yeah. So we're assuming that's what they
The
would do.
the green stripe is west city limits road, right?
Yes,
Next to the red, so that's construct thing there, and then that development there,
yep.
and you're just doing that corner?
They're doing.
They're doing that behind that development to the west.
Yep, there's a road here, and then they've got a road on there dividing this, and then the building back there.
And we're planning off just that 26-acre block, just one big block,
And this road,
and that road.
The right of way.
right away. Yep. And it's already been through the city.
So 87-acre lots, 26 acres is coming off of it.
26 plus 1.35. Yeah, that's right, did you say 28? Oh, yeah.
Oh, and add the 145, gotcha,
the
yep.
road too, that right away.
Pocket change,
Ballpark.
ballpark, there you go.
Motion to approve.
I'll second Loest.
All right, vote when you're ready.
Barkle,
Yes.
Loest,
Yes.
Kettering,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so that takes care of all the plats. We already discussed the building height. Onto the small acre lots and solar farms.
So again, we touched on this when we were going through the ag ordinance some, but we're still getting a number of people complaining about citizens wanting to have smaller lots and ag property for their kids. I don't know if we wanted to change that at this point. We kind of talked a little bit in the past about, and what I'd like to do is maybe have what we touched on was have like contiguous acreages up to, say 160 acres. Maybe they're allowed one non-farming lot if they have that kind of acreage for a farmhand or a kid or something. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. I don't know how you all feel. It doesn't seem to go away though, and we keep getting asked that. And we do have some families that own a lot of acreage, but they're more developers than they are farmers, and it's not something they're required to do, but we could at least give them an option of putting a home in periodically if they have enough acreage. That's kind of the thought process.
Do you know, Gary, what county it is? They have a deal, they're allowed a small ag, like in the ag district, a smaller plot of
Right.
2 acres or whatever. But
There's a
only-
number of counties that do
only-
that.
It's gotta be a certain distance.
Right.
Apart of it, like, is it per quarter, per section, or
Yep,
something like that?
yep, there's a
It
number
can't
of
be-
them that went per quarter. There's a lot of variations out there, but we keep getting asked. I don't think it's going away. And I understand a lot of the kids don't want to take care of 20 acres, and they don't want to finance 20 acres. And so that's kind of the problem. So,
I guess I see the argument of having a kid come back to the farm is kind of a straw man argument, because if you don't want to finance it or whatever, if mom and dad can't afford to help you out with 20 acres to put your house on, and you don't have to take care of that, you can just put your house on 1 acre and still farm the other 19.
right.
Just as it is now. If you can't take care of that, you don't have a farming operation that's going to sustain
Right.
anything for somebody to come back. So I guess to me, that's kind of a straw man argument, and I kind of see it as no matter what we change the rule to, it's going to be like this building height thing, that pretty much you're going to get complaints, you're going to get people asking you about it, unless you just have a free-for-all.
Right. I understand. Yeah, I'm just telling you what the issue is, and like I said, that seems to be the feeling of a lot of the people we have coming in right now, because they're getting to that point where they're needing help, or so they're like you said, bringing kids back or hiring farmhands, and it wouldn't still be a lot of houses if you're only talking a small acreage every 160 acres contiguous or something, but So it's just a discussion point, if we
You know,
think
the
we
cha-
want to move forward.
The challenge you run in with that is what you're saying is the farmers have a special exemption. So am I a farmer?
Well, not just a
I
farmer.
mean,
That's what I'm saying,
yeah,
is that
because
they
I'm
just
not
have
a-
a ton of acreage. Some are just developers, and they
Right.
want to do this for their kids. I mean,
Right.
you know, that's the issue, is we have a lot of citizens that own a lot of acreage that aren't necessarily just farming. That's why it keeps getting brought up.
Yep, and I just caution making special exemptions for a certain, I don't want to say class of people, but a certain, you know, group of folks. And like I said, my husband and I own land, and we're not farmers. We like to
Right.
think we're hobby farmers. We've got 2 sons, you know, who we hope come back. I mean, just because I own a ton of land, or a few acres, whatever it is, does that give me a special right to plunk off a couple acres and sell it to
Right.
my kids? I mean, even if they don't come back and farm, maybe one will
Yeah.
take over the land and be a farmer, but they might just work in town. So, I mean, you just get into that.
It is a tough balance,
That
there's no
kinda
doubt.
legal splitting of
Yep.
hairs in the long run that you have a hard time defending
Yeah,
at times. And
And I think
I don't know. And I also caution, they change state law. A lot of these folks who are getting these small acreages, they are not ag
Right.
acreages.
Yep.
They should not be getting an ag exemption for taxes.
exactly.
They have to be careful with
We
those.
talked
When
about
you
that a
start
lot.
drawing those boxes around the buildings and that site is just a house, that is not an ag site.
Right.
So they shouldn't be getting the ag exemption for school taxes. And people don't understand that when their tax bill changes someday, and it goes up. So unless they're part of a farming operation, that's where the state law does
Exactly.
make it if you own a certain, or you're part of the membership and all that kind of stuff. So-
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned this be more of a non-farming issue, but that's where we're at, and I understand what you're all saying. It just doesn't seem to go away, and we're kind of stuck.
So question, currently zoned ag, 20 acres is
20
the minimum,
acre.
right? And that's pretty appropriate. Well, we
We
see
had
a
a-
lot of smaller homes that at some point in time have broken off to around 10. The farmer at some point in time decided to sell, and he keeps the farmstead at 10. I don't know if that's something that is too small, or.
Well, in the past, there was a time, there was a stretch of time where a number of variances, like hundreds, were approved in the past. And that's why there's a lot of these small acreages that are already zoned ag. And they're pre-ordinance or just after the ordinance. But since we've been focused on not having variances, this question keeps coming up. So whether it be 10 or less, anything less than 20 is going to be a variance, and so that's the issue. Where's the hardship in that?
Unless it's an existing farmstead, which then.
Right.
It can be 1 acre.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think landowners have the right to use their land. That's their retirements, it's their 401k, that's what they worked on their entire life, and they should have the ability to be able to bring back a kid and live on it, not requiring them to have 20 acres.
The only conflict that you have with that, though, is you already have a built-in conflict in the zoning ordinance with the setback rules for anything with animal agriculture.
We need
or
to change
anything.
that.
That does need to be changed, because as you add more housing there, you're adding a direct conflict to the current people there to be able to make a living with their land, because you're taking that opportunity away from them directly through our zoning ordinance.
And that's one reason it was left at 20 acres, is because it's much higher hurdle than buying 1 or 2. and that you could split off and put a home in the farmstead, because that does not increase your footprint with regard to setbacks. That was one reason that was done. So, but if I own a quarter of land, technically, if I don't plat it off, I can put 8 homes on there,
Right.
as long as they all meet the setbacks,
You could, but you wouldn't be able to sell them unless you platted them.
unless my kids live there. And that's
But you could
just,
do that.
when
But-
I die, they get it,
So,
so.
which, that just, I guess, to me, verifies my argument with, there's not really a need for that for a kid to come back and farm. You can do that already with your own contract with them or whatever. To me, it's just an argument trying to say, oh, I really wanna do this, and then, yeah, on the side, a couple of years down the road, I'm gonna sell that, because I'm a
Sure.
developer.
Okay, let me
So-
bring this up. At our last county commission meeting, we had a discussion about the ordinance and what needs to be done to change it and get it brought up to date, and then frequently change it as it needs to be changed as we go forward. And there were some county commissioners thought that this group here should rewrite the ordinance.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
How many years did we spend on just one section?
Well, that's the thing, and it's hard, and the other thing that always gets brought up is we always mention economic development, and then, then we don't do things like this to where we're adding a few lots to the county, but yeah, I understand the argument, Chris. It's a tough call. But we get asked it a lot, so this was the time. If we're gonna, last thing we're gonna talk about is solar farms, and that's an egg too, so that's why I wanted to bring it up at this time, so.
I'm gonna make one quick comment, Gary, before that. On this original ordinance, when we walked out of the room the night that we originally approved this, we were told that if you have everybody in the county mad at you, you did a good job. And that's basically what it comes down to.
Right.
Because no matter what decision you make or rule you make, the next day somebody's gonna come in and say, I don't like that, I want it different.
There's always a
And
consequence,
it's
there's
never
no doubt
changed.
about
That's
it.
what it is. So if everybody's mad at you, we're good.
Yeah, so. Last thing that was brought up was Lauren had brought up solar farms. Back in April, when we had our spring workshop, there was a lot of discussion about solar farms. There was a lot of issues up in the north end of the state regarding them, and so Lauren had said, we should try and move forward and get something going on the ordinance in that regard, and so I guess the thought process, I had a lot of discussion about the issues up north. Sherry had mentioned the Clay County ordinance, which I found out about back in April also. They have another actual farm that's being proposed to come in over there, and they kind of went the same route that I was kind of thinking, is we at least have a base that makes the bigger ones 100 kilowatt or more, a CUP process, and then the rest can stay the same, the smaller ones, and just have a base that has a few requirements, makes it a CUP, get into a lot of that minor stuff but at least it has, height, maybe glare, some of those things, setbacks, those kind of things on the books, and do a draft of that for the next month's meeting, and that's kind of the thought process, if that's what you're all thinking.
So this was Clay's, and as I scanned through that earlier today, I did not see anywhere in there, like I have solar, okay? It's
Right.
on a building right now, so technically, I think according to this, I would not need to have a CUP.
No.
If we expand that, we've already discussed, my husband and I, we're not putting it on a building. We will set it on the ground. Because
Right.
we're old now, older, and we want to be able to maintain it. According to this, I think I would have to have a CUP, even though it would just be for my residence. Because technically, I would be connected to the grid, and any excess I would commercially sell to BY, which I do today. So I didn't see that 100 kilowatt or more
That's
anywhere
what I
in
was
here.
thinking for
Okay.
ours.
And I
Now,
know
they didn't do
Coddington-
that, but that was one of the issues that was raised
Yep.
up north, is the big and small thing. And so that was my issue, that was what I brought up, that as a breakoff point, because that's what I was seeing per definition, was that it had to be over 100 kilowatts.
So Sherry, like how large is yours and how big would you put one in for just your house
Well,
as far as kilowatts go?
there are 250 watt panels and we have 36, so that's 900 kilowatts.
So you, yeah. So then you would if you
So-
went that route.
And that, honestly, if we were just on solar, would not be enough to run our shop and house and everything.
said that-
So I think we need to look at what number would be a tipping
Well,
point.
you're actually nine kilowatts. You
Or
said two-
nine, oh, sorry.
You said 250
Yep,
plus 36, that's 9
yep,
kilowatts.
there you go. I didn't see, yep, I got a dot there. I need to, yep, so it's 9 kilowatts. So that would be
Yeah, so
100 would
you'd
be pretty good.
Yeah,
But, and I tried to get Coddington's, but their person was out of the office today. And I
Right.
think they passed theirs 2
and they were
years
one of the
ago.
ones that had the issues too. Brown, right now Brown and Coddington, they're going through this. But here's what I found for size. It says residential solar projects usually involve 15 to 20 panels ranging from 1 to 10 kilowatts, whereas commercial solar projects need an average of 400 solar panels. And if a project is expected to provide 10 to 100 kilowatts, that's considered medium commercial. If it goes over 100 kilowatts, it's a large commercial.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I chose that. And so if that works for everybody, I can do that in draft form for next month's meeting, and we can break it down from there and change it and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, because doing my research with solar and counties and their ordinances, some counties do break it down. They'll have the rules for your residential, and then they'll have the rules for the commercial. But then
Right.
I also see some counties who don't even touch the residential.
Yep.
They just say, once you hit a
If
point.
it's over this point, then, because I think otherwise we can keep all the home stuff by the way it is. It's a permitted use and you can
Yeah.
move on. But we want to be, the ones you want to cover are the big ones.
And one thing, I was on the phone, a friend of mine is on the county commission out in Pennington County, and I got touched base with him last Wednesday. And I asked him, those solar farms is going in out there in Pennington County. I said, what would you change at this point? He said the road haul agreement.
Yeah.
He said they are having a terrible time right now with trucks hauling equipment in. They actually got some security
Yeah.
to stop them from going
Yeah.
down certain roads. So he said, make sure, whatever you have, make sure that the
And that
road
is
haul-
already in my
Yep,
proposed
good.
draft. And the other thing that I don't think Clay had, that I was thinking a couple things, but were like liability and stuff too. I think we want to add some of that in there initially too, to cover those kind of issues, but definitely road maintenance.
What about as far as abandoning their site after?
Yep,
a period of time?
decommissioning's already on there also. Yeah, that's a big one.
I'd like to look at 3 or 4 of these before we go off
Sure.
in a direction. I'd like to look at them so we can sit down and look for details and not have to come back the second time.
Yeah, I
6
can mail
months
you a
from now.
number of counties
And
up
would
ahead of
that,
time, and probably with the draft by that time, so.
And would that, are we gonna include wind towers too? And are we gonna include pipelines?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know if you want to take all of that on right away. They're different articles, but we would be getting into changing a number of pieces. I thought maybe for this go-around, we would just do definitions and ag for solar farm, but that's up to you, I guess.
So you're talking about making the solar farm draft a different article?
No, it'd
zoning
be
wise?
right in the
In
ag
the ag.
article, yeah,
So that's the only district that it's allowed in, is it?
right, the bigger ones.
Because we do have a wind.
Yeah, we have wind and
So that would just be
cell
updating.
towers already, but.
That'd just be
But,
updated.
they need to be, they're kinda outdated and they should be updated, like Don said, at some point. But I don't know if you wanna take all that on in one shot. That might be a couple, 3 different things. And give us some time.
I
Well,
say,
the idea of the discussion, as I remember it last month, was that we get it in writing so that we aren't stumbling over it when the application comes in.
well, I think it'd be good to start with solar. I'm a one task kind of person. So start with solar. I don't think there's any pipelines that have been nosing around here in Yankton, yet. But I think solar is.
Yeah,
something that's gonna be
we
no-
had somebody
yeah.
in the Mission Hill area that
Yep.
was looking for like 500 acres, but
I visited with a commissioner from Cedar County, Nebraska, and he said he would bet any amount of money I wanted to bet, which wasn't very much, that there are wind energy driving around the county looking for people that will sign an easement for them.
they are. We've been contacted a couple
So they're
times
out
too,
there.
up in the corners of the county, so. They've been looking for a couple years already.
Is any of that regulated, like the cell phone towers and stuff where they have not really eminent domain, but
They have kind of a mandate.
kind of a mandate thing that says that you can't stop them from doing it? I mean, 'cause that.
Pipelines do more than
Well,
anything.
I know that,
Yeah.
but, like that cell tower that we approved, out west of town there.
Right.
And, and the gentleman got up and spoke, he said, well, you can talk about all you want, but it's
Yeah.
federal law, you can't stop it.
Yeah, that's what our
that's
consultant
what I'm
always
worried
told
about,
us too,
some of these other
but yeah, they get into, we do have a lot of detail in some of those, and that's part of the issue why we wanted to redo the cell tower one too, was because we still have in there about hiring a consultant, and it was like a 2.5-year process for them to get a cell tower through, so. Well, in my hearings, we'll just start with solar, and I'll bring the draft for the Article 5 and definitions in next month, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Sounds
and if you could
good.
include some other examples.
Yep, and I'll
that
get you
got.
other counties, current ones, and you'll have a lot to look at. All right, sounds good, thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Where did you guys get the kilowatt numbers and stuff? I guess I'm not seeing them on my, what was?
That was just a
They aren't
proposal
on
that.
They aren't.
Blaze.
That's just my proposal.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be part of the grant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I noticed about Blaze, is they didn't have
Yeah.
anything.
I think that makes it easier.
Yeah. All right, is there any public comment? Anything anybody wants to discuss? Hearing none, I close public comment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
No.
Don?
Who's the guy back there?
Sure, if you don't farm, then what do you do on all that land out
I walk hills and pull thistles all
there? There you go. No wonder you're in shape.
Spray.
How you doing?
do.